Thank you, Jim. That was definitely inspired noodling as advertised. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the home of Unitarian Universalism in Central Washington. My name is Vern Smith, and I serve on your worship team. I'm the celebrant for today's service. If you are a visitor this morning, we're glad that you're here. This morning, we welcome every person of goodwill, just as you are, however you get around, whomever you love, whatever body you inhabit, and whatever your age. You're welcome here, and we invite you to join us for our virtual coffee hour in the same Zoom room right after the service. The order of service is available in the chat section. I hope somebody has placed that there. I did not do that, but I believe somebody might. If you have questions about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism in general, please feel free to ask them in our virtual coffee hour groups. The folks there will answer your questions or figure out who can answer them for you. We also have a web page available with answers and contact information. And we have a land acknowledgement we like to read. It is important to take time every Sunday to acknowledge the story of the land that the congregation sits on. We gather on the homeland of the Pasquosa, where they lived, for generations upon generations as stewards of this land. The Pasquosa people still live here. For over 2 centuries, the United States government has broken its 1855 and 1893 agreements with this Pasquosa people. The government stole the land ceded to the Pasquosa through fraudulent surveys, indifference, intentional violations, and by land transfers to colonists and corporations. The Pasquosa continue their traditions and seek to have their rights recognized. Jim has some opening words.
Good morning. We deepen into our service now with words from the Sanskrit poet Kidasa. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course, lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, tomorrow is only a vision. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day.
Apologize for that pause. When I look over to let people into the room, it changes the windows that we're looking at, and his words went away. It's my fault. Affirming our connections. Now we light the chalice. If you have one with you, please join me in lighting it. We're going to read today the words of the Passover Haggadah as we light the chalice. I'm going to do them separately, though, because I cannot read and safely do that as we light it. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Jim has a wisdom reading.
Yeah. This is something from my Baha'i faith, Abdul Baha. When the human soul soareth out of this transient heap of dust and riseth into the world of God, then veils will fall away, and verities will come to light, and all things known and unknown will be made clear, and hidden truths will be understood. Consider now a being of the world of the womb, was deaf of ear and blind of eye and mute of tongue. Now he was bereft of any perceptions at all. But once out of that world of darkness, he passed into this world of light. Then his eyes saw, ears heard, his tongue spoke. In the same way, once he has hastened from this mortal place into the kingdom of God, then he will be born of spirit. Then the eye of his perception will open, the ear of his soul will hearken, and the truths and all the truths of which he was ignorant before will be made plain and clear.
Thank you, Jim. If there are any children nearby, please come close. Join us for a story. Oh, of course, this is for children of all ages. I see many in the little blocks today. The Most Magnificent Thing.
And now, The Most Magnificent Thing. Written and illustrated by Ashley Spires. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things. He unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It is all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She adds antennae. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese. But none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch! The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. "I am no good at this. I quit." Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first. But before long, she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel-to-seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. "This is the perfect thing to ward off bears." "This will stop that leak." "This one's all wet." The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing.
Thank you very much. And Jim will play us a song now. Go, Jim.
Take a walk to the river. Come take a walk with me. Come take a walk to that long and lazy river, and we'll follow it down to the sea. Down by the river you can get what you need from these rolling waters. Tree of knowledge feeds down by the river. Let's go down to the river and sing praises to the giver for these waters of peace and justice rolling on, knowing things will work out by and by. Down by the river you can get what you need from these rolling waters. Tree of knowledge feeds down by the river. Down by the river you can get what you need from these rolling waters. Tree of knowledge feeds down by the river. Down by welcome again. And let's see, where am I going here? Usually I get up and I'm like, I just give a little window into Jim because I'm not a real preacher nor a minister. And so it's usually something like dark, dark, light, light, happy, happy, joy, joy, sing song, right? And so I'm going to do that in short order, but there's an awakening thing that I needed to mention besides just like personal stuff. It's like a big, larger one that I see going on in society. And I need to just speak on that for a moment. I heard when I was growing up, 1, 2, 3, wake up. And I would hear that a lot. My stepfather was a physician and surgeon, and one of the founding fathers of the Academy for Ethical Hypnosis, Medical Hypnosis. And he would get called back to Washington, D.C. quite often and talk with the mucky mucks back there in the late 50s and early 60s about mass hypnosis. About how to handle large crowds of people, how to do these manipulations and whatnot. And lo and behold, here, decades later, I see a good portion of the world asleep. And I don't know how to go 1, 2, 3, wake up to them. I don't know how to do it, but I know what it is that I'm seeing. And it's disheartening. So I'm just going to say that I have woken up to that, and I wish that I could wake up these other sleeping beings. But back to me. So a few years back, I gave a talk here at Cuff, and it was about I had a bunch of strokes and lost vision and just a lot of my capacities and that and each step along the way coming out of that was like learning to walk and talk and read and adjust to these deficits. It was kind of like the rose opening, it's like things coming out like one petal at a time until I'm in full bloom, whatever kind of flower that's supposed to be, right? So when am I going to be finally done blooming? How many more epiphanies do I need until I'm like fully awake? Last year, I awoke to like several personal traumas. Death of friends, death of family members, death of my dog, the dissolution of a very long marriage, serious surgery. And at every juncture, I was assured that I was going to be overwhelmed. This is what's gonna take me out. Kind of like the little girl in the story. I can't do this. This is too hard. And it's so maybe this is the universe's way of shaking me awake. Saying for me to pay attention, because maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there is. Anyway, it seems to me that the lessons are much like the Russian dolls do, that each thing precipitates another and another and another. So my faith asks me to consider the awakenings of the humans from the womb, as in the reading that I wrote. And we will experience, how do I write this here? We can, to the awakenings we will experience spiritually when we pass from this mortal state. I have awakened to the fact that I'm actually a capable human being and can handle some pretty extreme circumstances without losing my soul in the process. And being able to gather up the pieces together and find something usable and fantastic out of that, just as in that story, is amazing. It's very awakening that I have not let life sour me on life, that I have come through this. So I guess I woke up happy. That's my awakening there. These last 2 years have stirred many things in many people. I have witnessed changes from people changing their religion to their political stripes to their ways of life. And I know that there's just like power in the air with the change. I mean, this is just my sense of things. And I think that the world is waking up.
I had a similar thing. I was actually talking to Julie about it last night. I'll tell the specific of it. I buy some metal supply. If I'm building something out of metal, I buy it down here at this local. It's I think it's Oxark, and it's just a couple of good old boys that are in there selling that product all day, raw metal pieces. And over time, I going in and out of there for different things, I saw that they sit in that little room, that little office they're in, the two of them, and they listen. It used to, I don't know who it is now, but it was Rush Limbaugh all the time. When I went in there, it was on the radio in the back, just feeding them their version of that version of information, and my observation about these guys, and I maybe because of that, but I don't talk any political things, or I don't delve into any of that stuff when I'm there. I'm just kind of about the business. But I really see these two guys as they're really nice guys. They're nice men. They're young men. They're kind. They seem like, I'm sure that they are that in their own life, really. And it's just interesting to think that if either of us really brought up any particular topics and really told what we thought about it, we might immediately be propelled to opposite ends of the fighting arena, and not be able to really talk with each other anymore because we have such extremely different views on some things. And I try really hard not to. I don't do that, right? And so I'm just like, I'm just not going to do that. And if they say something, I'm getting pretty good at this now. That if somebody says something that's offensive or wild or down one of those paths, I'm pretty good at I'll either maybe just ignore it if it's best to ignore it, or I might give them a gentle, usually experience-based response that says, I've not found that to be the case. I experienced this, and this is what, and kind of tell them something that's kind of positive in a direction that might not be the way they usually go. I think that's okay, and I think that's probably the right approach. But at the same time, it feels, in this time, it feels too passive too. It's hard. It's a hard balance, right? Like I really believe in attraction rather than promotion. In other words, be the person that you want to be, and it's the right person to be, and other people will see that, and it's okay. But at the same time, I want to say that other side, or certainly some aggressive people with agendas, are aggressive. They are taking action or constantly taking aggressive action to have their way. And passively acting right doesn't always feel like the right response to that, It's very difficult circumstance. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the, and they don't understand it either. Why aren't you guys waving flags like we are? It's like, well, that's not the way we see things. But the problem with that is that they don't see how we see. We can't get it. So I don't know. It feels like my hands are tied sometimes. I'm not sure what action to take, but I guess it's best to be here.
Hey, Larry.
So just putting a couple of those ideas together, Angela's idea that, we got this limited time, really. And the older we get, the more limited it is. I'm very aware of that. And then your idea, Vern, that passiveness doesn't feel like the right way sometimes. And I think that living passively is not really the right ticket. I mean, if with our limited time, it's pretty important that whenever we have contact with people, that we make the most of that. I mean, not that we need to get all aggressive and create conflict. That's not the way to go usually. But to just let things go as if we agree with it is a waste of our lives.
I agree. It's not jumping in front of the bus to save somebody. It's the not doing something. It's passively letting it happen.
Yeah.
I think I have a hard time with, you put yourself out there and you get all this anger and hate spewed toward you. And that's where it's like, it kind of shuts me down. I feel like sometimes some of these aggressive people are trying to cram it down your throat. And I don't know how to, and then I don't know, I'm distressed for days, over that kind of behavior. And I don't know where to go with that or how to deal with it, and so, how do we find the balance with stepping out there and being seen for the, trying to be open-hearted and all of that, and not take in that vitriol of those people. It's hard for me anyway. I don't know.
Good. Go ahead.
Years and years ago, in the late 80s and early 90s, we had an intern minister, and then became our minister, Nan Gear. And she was asked at one time how she handled how she related to other people of different persuasions. And she told of an example that she had where she was talking to a group of pro-life people. And what she did was to find some level of things that they're together about. And it basically was their children. But her way of dealing with those is to look for that nugget of truth that both people can agree upon, and then begin to expand beyond that. And to do that, I guess that's enough to say about that.
Well, this has been good, stimulating conversation, I think. I wasn't sure what to expect from offering a service like this just because. So let's finish our service, and then we can talk more about things later.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, if you can all mute again, just so we can keep the noise from bouncing around. All righty. we're going to talk about the offertory. It's an ancient element of worship. The act of giving, regardless of amount, is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and generosity. We live these values in abundance, joyfully sharing our gifts and strength in service to the greater good is one way we may create beloved community. Thank you to all who are donating and continuing to pay your pledges in this unusual time. We are blessed by your generosity. May your gifts make a difference in our communities throughout the ministries of our church. Which leads me to our announcements. This is the last week of our pledge drive. Please be sure to fill out your pledge packet, or let us know. You can do that online or by contacting certain people. Thank you to everyone who's already pledged. If you're not going to make a pledge, which you normally do, please let them know, just so they can check the box, so that they can feel that it's been finished. Another announcement that wasn't given to me, but I'll just go ahead and make it, is that we are making progress in opening the church for services. We had a good worship team meeting yesterday. We're going to do basically a tech rehearsal and walk through dry run of having an in-person service. I think we're doing that the Wednesday night, the 4th. And then we'll either be opening for service in person on the 8th, May 8th, or the following May 15th. And we'll let you know that. I don't have the detail of which of those dates it'll be, but soon. And if you have any questions about the modifications to the CDC guidelines and COVID restrictions we are following now, that's all available on the website, and usually in the weekly email from Sharon also has information on that. So those are my announcements. And that's all we have. We're going to extinguish the chalice now. We're going to extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. carry those in our hearts until we are together again. Wow, with his fingers, that's amazing. Now he can literally carry the flame. Let's sing. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Very nice.